All right, so we're going to do just a real quick, simple safety video for using the battery-operated chainsaws. Some things for maintenance here at the CRC. So we have the gas-powered chainsaws. Those are used for large trees that we're going to be taking care of. So before we get started with a chainsaw, we're going to check a couple things. On the battery-operated chainsaws, they have bar and chain oil. Now on the handheld chainsaw, right here, there's this cap that you unscrew. You make sure that there's the liquid that you can see, the bar and chain liquid. These are not gasoline powered, so they don't get gasoline at all. You're going to screw that cap on, making sure that it's screwed on accurately so it's not leaking out. We don't want to get things every which way. And then that's going to be ready to go once we add the battery. Here, you can actually see the liquid if I move it around. And there's a line letting you know this is the minimum amount needed. So you want to make sure that you always have that oil. That oil keeps the chain and the bar running smoothly. Now on the pole saw, it's going to be a little different. The pole saw, what we're going to use here is we're going to take this little one. This is made of bar and chain oil. And you just lightly kind of, I'm going to get closer to the camera. You're just lightly going to kind of squeeze some onto the chain. So you see that there? Hopefully the camera's picking it up, and you just kind of run down the chain. You're going to do that on both sides. So that's going to be for the pole saw. Now both of these are battery operated. When they're not in use, we want to take the sleeve, that's for safety, keep that over the blade. The reason that's important is in case we go and we take our battery. So the chainsaws are able to cut the battery operated one or the pole saw. Both of them are battery operated. They're going to use the larger size battery that we have. Technically, you could put the smaller size battery that we use for the blowers, but that's not going to work. So if I put that battery in, it has a safety button here, but it's technically able to run. So that plastic keeps it from being run. So take the battery out. You're going to take this off, okay? Then you're going to take the battery, you're going to put the battery in. Now, before we ever start cutting anything, we're going to make sure we have safety goggles on. With this chainsaw, there's a button here, and then there's a trigger here, okay? So those two buttons together, on this, I'm holding this here firmly. Those two buttons push, and it's ready to cut. Right like that. Right? Now, this is just a shield. But remember, you're always wearing safety goggles when you're using a chainsaw because little pieces can fly. And trust me, I've used one without them. I've got stuff in my eyes. It's horrible. My dad once had to go to the hospital for something that went in his eye when he was cutting wood. Literally, they had to take the eyeball out of the socket. So don't do that, right? So we're going to just do this. We're going to cut. Now, you should have, before you start using a chainsaw, been checked off by Pedro or me. So we know that you actually know how to use a chainsaw and you just don't go out and touch it. Extremely sharp and dangerous, okay? So when you're not using it, always take the battery out. That way it's not gonna work and we don't have to worry about that. But always pretend like a chainsaw is live and able to be used. This here, if you get cut on it, we're talking going to the hospital, okay? So very, very important to be very careful. If you ever get tired chainsawing, you need to stop. Don't try to keep pushing through because that could end up in a dangerous situation. So that's the regular chainsaw. Now the pole saw, you've already seen how to oil it, so it gets connected in two ways. So if we're doing something just a little bit above our head, we're going to connect just the one piece with the one piece. So there's the male end and the female end. So in kind of mechanics, there's the male that sticks in, the female that's the receiving end. You're going to see how it lines up. You're going to stick it on. Then you bring this thing here up and you screw it on. And you're just going to screw it totally tight, and that's going to give you where it's solid now. Now, on the battery-operated pole saw, there's an extra extension, okay? Now, this is where everybody has to figure out their strength. If you do the extra extension, you need to be a little bit stronger, right? Because what you're having to do is when we put the battery in this, we're holding down here and we're reaching up here, right? And so we're cutting this way. This one operates in a similar fashion. There's this button on the bottom and this button on the top. So your thumb pulls down, fingers pull up, and it's gonna cut, and then we're gonna use. Now, this blade here is on an angle, so it's literally designed up high to kind of cut, and you rock it. Both of the battery operated chainsaws are for 8 inches or less. And so these will be at the maintenance shop. We'll have the batteries at the maintenance shop as well. So these are available for us to use. But once again, you only use a chainsaw if you've been checked off by Pedro or me, just so we know you actually know how to use one properly and safely. These are the battery operated chainsaws. And then we also have the gas powered chainsaws that people can use if they know how, they've been checked off for safety. The gas powered are much heavier. So these are really great for when we're having to do some of the little tree trimming or getting the stuff cut up that's gonna go in the dumpster.